what we are witnessing is retaliation by Iran, not just in Israel, but in Gulf states as well. America and Israel launched a series of preemptive missile strikes on Iran. Iran has now struck back. U.S. bases in the Gulf are under attack. The whereabouts of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, are unknown right now. The Middle East is at war, and the world will never be the same as what we can say right now. Let's break down all that has unfolded. In fact, in the early hours, the United States and Israel launched a series of preemptive strikes on Iran. Their targets, IRGC intelligence headquarters and military infrastructure across Iran. This was not a warning shot. This was a comprehensive, coordinated military operation. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has named it Operation Roar of the Lion and says it will last as long as needed. And we are getting some breaking inputs as well. And we will be getting you everything that you need to know about what's happening right now in the Middle East. First up, top 10 developments that have taken place so far. Iran's supreme leader's home has been targeted. Israel has claimed that it has targeted Khamenei in an airstrike. As per the media in Iran, an Iranian school has also been targeted. Now, this is very, very important. Now, schools are being targeted, and what we are learning, according to Iran's media, is that 24 people have lost their lives in the attack on school that took place, as per Iranian media. Explosions heard in Kuwait and Bahrain as well, along with Qatar. One person has lost the life in the missile strike in Abu Dhabi as well. Airspace is shut for multiple Gulf nations right now. There are advisories coming in from airlines as well. Iran, in response, has demanded an emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council. And most important point that we have also got right now is that the US President Donald Trump is expected to address later this evening. Remember, after the action, after the strikes began in the morning, we saw an address by US President Donald Trump where he literally gave a warning to Iran to surrender. And he said that he's the only American president who is trying to provide this kind of an immunity to Iran. And he clearly is seeking regime change. That is the intention of Israel as well. And we have some breaking inputs coming in right now. Iran has expanded its missile campaign across the Middle East. Iran is now targeting US military bases and strategic locations in the region. Key targets include the US 5th Fleet Command Center in Bahrain, Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, and Al Dhafra Air Base in the UAE. In Kuwait, Iran targeted Arfijan Camp, Ahmad Al Jabr Air Base, and Mubarak Air Base. In fact, Saudi Arabia's Emir Sultan Base in Riyadh has also come under attack, is what we have learnt, along with Tabuk Base, Khamis, Mushayed Base, and a western base in Jeddah were also in the line of fire. Iranian missiles additionally targeted Muwaffaq Salti Air Base in Jordan and a US military base in Erbil in Iraq. Reports are also indicating threats across occupied Palestinian territories. The strikes mark a major escalation, with Iran widening the scope of the military response and significantly raising tensions across the Gulf and the broader Middle East region. My colleague Shrinjoy Chaudhary continues to be live with us. He's helping us decode what's really happening. We also are joined by our guests who will be helping us understand what to make of these developments and what does it really mean for the entire region, for the Middle East, and also for the entire world. We have with us Pinak Ranjan Chakravarti, former Secretary MEA. We also have with us Lieutenant General Syed Ata Hasnain, retired, who is a defense analyst who understands this region pretty well. We also have with us Ashok Sajjanhar, former diplomat. Good evening to all of you, gentlemen. Appreciate you all for joining us today. Lieutenant General Syed Ata Hasnain, let me begin with you. What do you make of what we are witnessing? Because Given the kind of statements that were coming from the Trump administration, from Trump himself, one thing was clear, that the attack is imminent, the attack on Iran. But the kind of response that we have seen coming in from Iran, do you think in some way even Iran was ready for an attack by the United States of America? And that's why now strategically the American bases, military bases across the Gulf states are being targeted.
Thank you very much, first of all, for inviting me for your program. And let me compliment you. Your assessment and your reporting so far has been spot on. Absolutely very, very helpful to get all this information which you have just put out. But to put this in perspective, for the last 2 months, we have seen this build-up taking place. 19 warships of the United States Marine Forces and the Navy have all built up into the Gulf region. But there is an absence of ground troops. Expeditionary forces are not in very great strength. There is some special forces elements which are operating here. It was expected that, yes, something will happen at some time, but this was also being combined with a lot of diplomacy which was going on, as you are aware, that in Vienna, Geneva, Muscat, Oman, and places like that, from time to time, these parleys have been taking place. And the United States has been putting it down on the table for Iran to accept. Iran obviously has declined to accept this. And that is why it has finally led to this kind of a military action. Is this military action an all-out military action? That is the main question we should be asking ourselves. To my mind, no. It is not an all-out military action. So far, it is a coercion which is going on, only using missilery, essentially missilery. And in retaliation, the Iranians are firing. Most of their missiles are being intercepted at the same time, although some casualties have been reported. Now, civilian casualties being reported at this stage could also be psychological operations, because no one can make out a damage assessment immediately in such quick time frame. So what we are looking at is essentially a messaging, a signaling that the United States is sending out to tell Iran that there is much more in store, that they have all the precision capabilities to target. And yes, they are attempting to target the leadership, both the political and the ideological leadership of Iran, and also the IRGC leadership, which in the last engagement, 12-day war, also had been taken down very, very effectively. So if all these leaderships are down, that can definitely bring about an attempt of an upsurge to bring about a regime change as such. Otherwise, to bring about a regime change by military means will mean the bringing in of troops on ground. That is very unlikely, and I don't think the resources for that are existing at the moment.
Okay. Firstly, thank you very much for your trying to make sense of everything that's coming. It's a developing story so that our viewers can understand what's really happening. Before I go across to my other guests, we have some more breaking inputs coming in. US-Israel strike, hits Iran's Revolutionary Guards headquarters near Tehran. This is the latest update that we are getting for you at this point in time. Shanjoy, now this is what Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnan also was trying to explain to us, that, the idea is to target the leadership of Iran and also IRGC, and that's exactly what we are seeing happening.
In the past, Israel and America have hit Iran, but they really concentrated on two aspects, two areas. One, military facilities, beginning presumably with radars and so on, and the nuclear capabilities. When Israel couldn't do something, the Americans used bunker-busting bombs. But in those times, never was the political leadership targeted. Yes, Qasem Soleimani is one exception, but it's one thing to target him successfully at that time, 6 years ago, and target Ali Khamenei and former President Ahmadinejad. Now, this is a game changer. Now, what is it that America and Israel want from targeting Ali Khamenei? First, regime change is something both leaders have spoken about, Netanyahu and Trump. They have spoken about regime change, and this time they've spoken about it seriously. The question is, Iran is a country of 90 million people. That's more than the population of Germany, for instance. And it's a big country. If you want to do regime change, how do you do it? There are really 2 or 3 options. One, the most difficult, and so far I see no sign of that, is boots on the ground. So leave that aside.
Right.
What else? Secondly, you can do a Venezuela and get someone in the inside to do a kind of coup. But Iran is not Venezuela. Iran is very different. So whether that is even being thought of is, we don't know. The third is to look at an upsurge like that happened some weeks and months ago.
Right.
Now, if that happens, then what will the Iranian leadership do? Well, last time there were firings, a lot of people died. I think the official number is 3,000.
Right.
But the number could well be more.
Right.
So how this will end vis-a-vis the change in leadership,
right,
a change in regime, we can't tell right now.
Well, absolutely. And more breaking inputs coming in right now, viewers. Explosion has been reported in Abu Dhabi following Iranian missile strikes. Remember, earlier the UAE issued a statement as well condemning the attack that earlier took place, calling it dangerous escalation and cowardly act. And also UAE had mentioned that it reserves its full right to respond. Let me go across to my other guests as well. Mr. Chakrabarti, now it's no longer limited to attacking Israel in retaliation. Now Gulf states are also being targeted. Are we looking at a watershed moment or perhaps an inflection point as far as, this region is concerned, the Middle East is concerned, with what we are witnessing right now?
I would not be surprised that the Iranians are targeting the Gulf countries, who are all American allies. And they have said so. I think if we follow the news and their statements, they have said so before. So it's not rocket science that they are attacking them. And they have a design too, a military plan too, how to sort of combat this attack of the Israelis and the Americans. And one of them is that we will also cause damage to American bases. And there are several of them, more than a dozen in that area all around Iran. So I think that is going to happen. But the point really is how to the GCC countries. If you remember last month, earlier on, the Iranians had attacked the oil facilities in Dammam and caused some damage. Now, are they going to cross that threshold and do that as well? Then we should be prepared for, hikes in oil and gas prices. Will they close the Straits of Hormuz? I don't know, but that could happen too. It depends on how much escalation takes place. But I think that the escalation has started, and it all depends on now how Iranians react and the Israelis and the Americans react. Now, the issue of regime change, I would say quickly that it won't be easy. Boots on the ground are not happening. And there is no, as General Saab said, there's no way that, like they did in Baghdad or earlier elsewhere, it's not going to happen. I think Iran is much too big, perhaps also much too powerful. So I think the option they have chosen is, of course, the bombing and airstrikes. And I'm sure they would have worked out, the CIA and the Mossad would have worked out internal. They must have agents there and others who would be, trying to trigger some civilian outburst or some civilian strife or even a civil war. I mean, you have problems in Iran with ethnic strife also, the Kurdish people, the Baluch people. There are problems there as well. So I think we have to just keep watching. I don't think anything can be decided at the moment as to how this whole conflict will go. And yes, of course, you are right that this is a new era or a new threshold for the Arab countries and that whole region, that this kind of a military conflict is now escalating and spreading to the GCC countries.
Right. We have some more breaking inputs coming in. The satellite imagery that we have accessed, it shows damage to Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's compound in Tehran. His whereabouts, viewers, are currently unknown. We have not really seen, him making any kind of a statement. And this is the latest update that we are getting for you. Look at this satellite imagery that we are showing you right now. This is from Tehran. This is the compound of the supreme leader of Iran, Khamenei. His compound has been damaged. Now, it was targeted. We broke that news for you a short while ago. And now this is the satellite image that we've got for you. Ambassador Sajanhar, what do you make of what we are witnessing right now? Your comments, because, what I'm trying to also understand is, till yesterday, we were focusing on Geneva talks. And what really changed in just a few hours that we have US President Donald Trump coming out and saying talking about the need for a regime change. We have the Israeli Prime Minister coming out and saying that both Israel and America have been facing existential threats because of the terrorist regime in Iran, and that's the reason why this joint operation was important. What could have really changed in just a few hours? What happened to the talks then? Was it ever about nuclear deterrence?
Yeah, thank you very much, Hina, for having me on the show. In my view, nothing changed. I think this was the game plan of both Israel and the United States. I think this whole it was a facade to have this talks going on in Geneva and Muscat, etc. Because from the point of view of the Iranians, they were making decent progress. There were exchange of draft one way or the other, and it was going through. I think we have seen such deceptive behavior on the part of Mr. Trump in the past also, when we had the 12-day war last year. So I don't think that, anything very significant on the ground has changed, which forced both of them. I think Mr. Netanyahu was in Washington, D.C. They must have discussed this plan, that this is how we are going to take it forward. And it was synchronized, it was synergized, the attacks by the two sides. Let me make one or two other comments, if you permit, Hina. One of them is that, regime change is something that both Israel and the United States have been looking at. Now, I think the country, Iran, is really sitting on a powder keg of discontent as far as the people are concerned, because of the economic conditions, because, of the depreciation in the rial, because of the sanctions, etc. So getting people on the streets, and with the CIA and Mossad amongst them in Iran, would not be all that difficult. My question only is, what happens the day after? Because as I think Srinjoy mentioned very correctly, 90 million people, if the top leadership goes, if Ali Khamenei in some way is incapacitated or whatever happened, Masoud Pezeshkian goes, if the IRGC is also, meaning what happens? There is, when in 1979 the changeover of regime took place, Imam Khamenei was waiting in the wings. He was waiting in Paris to come back and take over the reins. Right now, however much Reza Pahlavi might have tried to project himself as the alternative, no one is really taking him seriously as an alternative. So I don't think there is anyone else waiting in the wings. And what that means is that there is going to be very serious instability as far as this.
Right. Some important points you have raised. Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnain, now, the news that we got, I'd like your reaction also on that. The satellite imagery that we are showing perhaps shows that the compound of the supreme leader of Iran has been damaged. His circle has already shrunk quite a lot, isn't it? So what does it really mean? And can we expect a Venezuela kind of a situation in Iran? Do you think Trump can go ahead and do that?
First of all, your last question, a Venezuela type of a situation and an action of that kind, from my side, no, completely. But preceding this operation, there is no doubt that the United States and Israel would have done a very deep intelligence study and a very deep intelligence penetration. Israel does not ever conduct an operation without deep intelligence penetration. So what you're seeing is obviously a lot of information which was there available. Possibly just a lot of guidance is going on right from inside Iran itself. But having said that, I'm sure Ali Khamenei has got necessary hideouts and should be deep enough in underground. Most leaders of this kind will not be sitting in 2 or 3 or 4-story buildings waiting for missiles to come on top of them. They will all be in underground facilities. So to my mind, survivability chances are much, much higher. It's not likely that on the first strike itself you'll find that the supreme leader has been killed. But I will also just try and remind our viewers that as far as the IRGC is concerned, we have seen over a period of time in the last 5-6 years, ever since the killing of Soleimani, that lots and lots of IRGC commanders have been eliminated with precision strikes. It does not seem as if the IRGC takes adequate care for, the protection and securing of their leadership as such. So they, as far as the IRGC is concerned, I'm not so sure. But Khomeini, as far as Ali Khamenei is concerned, I'm sure survivability would definitely be an issue, and he will be very much alive at this time.
Okay. More breaking inputs coming in. Iranian missile strike reported on a U.S. military center in Doha. Now, this is the latest update that we are getting for you. Another U.S. military facility has been targeted by Iran. Explosions have been reported near U.S. base in Doha. Iran escalating attacks on U.S. assets in the Gulf countries specifically, and these are the visuals that we are getting for you at this point in time. Let me go across to, we have, in fact, some more breaking inputs coming in. IDF, in fact, has put out a statement saying initial footage from Operation Roaring Lion. The IDF is continuing to strike a wide range of targets in western Iran. As part of Operation Roaring Lion, the IDF struck with the direction of IDF intelligence hundreds of Iranian military targets, including missile launchers in western Iran. Alongside the IDF strikes in Iran, the aerial defense array is currently identifying and intercepting threats fired from Iran towards the state of Israel. This is the latest update coming in. First statement from the IDF in the last 1 hour or so. Earlier, they had also issued a statement confirming retaliation by Iran and how effort is on to intercept the ballistic missiles being fired from Iran. We got visuals from Jerusalem and Haifa as well. Let me go back to my guests who continue to be with us at this point in time. Mr. Chakravarti, why it is important to highlight and compare the situation with what happened in Venezuela is also because, a statement has come from exiled prince of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, who has in fact urged Iranians to return to the streets for final action. And in fact, he has also put out a statement saying final victory is near. Current situation in Iran, he's called that a decisive turning point. And he said that the aid that the President of the United States promised to the brave people of Iran has now arrived. And what we are witnessing is humanitarian intervention is what he has said. What do you make of it? Do you think even the people of Iran, like in the case of Venezuela, are with the US in this action? Because when Venezuela happened, when the president was literally kidnapped, we spoke to some people in Venezuela and they seemed to be happy. They said we actually wanted to get rid of him. There were questions after that, but what do you make of this statement?
Well, Iran is not Venezuela, and the statement issued by Reza Pahlavi has been written by the American administration, because that is exactly what they want the people to hear. I don't think we should go by that statement because he is in fact their puppet. Pahlavi is a puppet of the Americans because he lives there and is in exile, can't go back to Iran. So he will have to say these things. And so I don't think that should be, that is a very serious kind of a thing that we should bother about. But the question really is that what you asked first, that can they do a Venezuela in Iran? My emphatic answer would be no, I don't think they can, because I don't think the kind of assets that they have, that they had in Venezuela, they have in Iran. They do have assets, and they will be able to raise quite a lot of people to protest or to go against the regime. But it won't be that easy. This regime, Iranian regime, is not so weak, or that they don't have any support from the people of Iran. They do have their own constituency. And you know, they have been pretty brutal in putting down the protesters, etc. I think a figure of 3,000 people killed was mentioned. So I think they are not going to so easily, just disappear into the desert and hand over power to whoever the Americans want to rule Iran. I don't think it's going to be that easy that they will be. So I'm basically putting a question mark on whether there will be a regime change.
Okay. Whether there will actually be a regime change or not, that is a question. This is what American President and Israeli Prime Minister, both of them, in fact, in their statements have said that this is what they desire. But will that happen, and will that bring an end to what we are witnessing right now? We don't know. It's a developing story. I'm requesting all my guests to please stay on with us. We're slipping into a very short break. But on the other side of this break, viewers, we'll talk about why this is important for India as well. New Delhi is also watching the situation very, very closely. In the Middle East specifically, there are there are a lot of Indians who work. We all have relatives, friends, family members working in parts of Middle East. So what does it mean for them? We'll discuss all of that on the other side of this very short break. Don't go anywhere.
She asks tough questions like no other journalist.
Rupee volatility driven by global markets, domestic mismanagement or tax? Global. Domestic mismanagement to ho nahi sakti, you'll never confess. It was supposed to be one nation, one tax. It became something like one nation, 9 taxes.
She takes on the masters of Indian politics like no one else can.
Why does the Congress party live in denial of this? That this was done on religious lines and then killing them. Biggest difference working in the UPA government and the NDA government.
Because she speaks for you the way no one else can.
Are you saying Jeffrey Epstein